Hey everybody, this is actually me talking after I've already made my impression. I'm going to put this into the start of the video because I forgot to do it. Please check the description for links to my garage sale where I sell old gear that might be very good stuff, but I just don't keep for my personal collection anymore. I give really big discounts and I treat things with a lot of great care. And also consider supporting me on Patreon, where I'm doing free giveaways at the end of every month now that I have enough support from vendors giving me gear. So it might be worth supporting me and also getting the chance to win some stuff for yourself. Without further ado then, let's begin. Okay, so I open the box. This is my out-of-box impression. I open up the Opal, and I'm gonna call it the Opal because that's what it says. Okay. A lot of people in the community, and even the product pages on Ikko's own website, doesn't say Opal. I'm so confused. This is like the first time somebody prints a name on the box in bigger font than anything else, and they don't use that in the product's title. And the community doesn't refer to it as the Opals. They refer to it as the OH2. Very interesting. And the community and their product and the Ikko website product pages also refer to the $200 big brother, the OH10, as the OH10 instead of the Obsidian, which is what it says on the box. So I'm going to call this the Opal. Try to stop me. So the Opal is this very kind of minimal triangle-shaped thing with the oval nozzle. It's the strangest shape I've ever seen on an IEM. An oval. Have you ever seen an oval nozzle? They come with their own proprietary tips to fit this nozzle. I'm thinking you could probably try your own stock tips to fit around it, but I just don't know if they would get a good seal. So something to keep in mind if you're a big person if you're big on tip rolling, on trying different tips in your collection to see what sounds good, you might see some limitations there. But they do offer a good variety. They have they look so weird to me, especially this one. Do you look at this? This is so crazy how this one looks. It's, oh, dropped that one. I'll show you another one. It's this big oval thing. This is the largest size they have, but it looks comical to me because it just looks so different. I'm sure it's probably great, but I only needed to go to the medium size before I got the seal that I wanted. So anyway, what else did I find in the box? I got this billfold style leather IEM carrying case. In it there seems to be, what is that? I keep dropping things. What does that do? It's like this weird clip thing. Anyway, but I really like the thin case they have here. When you actually fill it with an IEM, this is the Obsidians, which are bigger, heavier, and I have a third-party cable, which is thick. That's what it comes out to when it's thick. And that would fit in your pocket very well. I have a wallet in my pocket right now. I don't know how well you can see any of that. And it fits well enough, and because it's leather, it's gonna bend with your pants if you keep it in your pants, or if you keep it in a bag, it's just gonna be a little bit more convenient to store. It's definitely not the traditional carrying case style. The Clairvoyance, for example, now ships these carrying cases, these hard plastic shells, and it's a lot of space to put your stuff in, but it's bulky and it's stiff. Which one protects things better? Obviously, probably the hard shell. But I think in most cases, you can get away with this. And I actually kind of prefer the sleek design of this, and I prefer how it's easy to unravel and open. I would spend this is not supposed to be a video on a carrying case, but I really like what they're doing over at Ikko. I genuinely do. I would pay $20 or $30 if I didn't like the sound of their gear. I would genuinely want to pay $20 or $30 just for their carrying case. I don't know what they sell it for, but they have this magnetic anime girl. Really into it though. I really like that style. I wish they would do that for everything. I don't want to get philosophical on you, but sometimes I have these thoughts about my reviews. You know, I kind of get existential about my channel at times off camera. And I genuinely think to myself, like, what business do I have telling people that something's better? you know. And I really I always try to be cognizant of that. Like this whole hobby is very personal. It's a hobby, you know, and it comes down to your subjective taste. It's like art or wine or something like that. It's what does one person like that the other person might not like, you know, or what does that person like that the other person doesn't like. This OH2 is one of those things. So I go from the $200 Obsidian, and then I try the $70 OH2. I didn't know what to expect at first. Was I going to get a similar sound, just technically less capable, or was it going to be a completely different tuning style? And it turns out that the OH2 is kind of barking up a similar tree as the Obsidian. It tries to play with the bass, but it doesn't do it the same way at all. The Obsidian has a clear, focused, punchy sound in the low mids or upper bass somewhere, with less of the lush sound that you might get from the Timeless or the Mele. And then the OH2 totally puts up a shelf on the whole bass area, if not the lower mids. According to their own graph that they printed on it, the bass actually does stay consistently as high with the mids. That could be a recipe for disaster. You could expect a lot of bloom, a lot of lack of separation between the instruments when you have the waters so muddied like that. And that is honestly kind of what you do here. It does not sound separated. It does not sound clean and airy, but it sounded like it was on purpose. The music still sounded cohesive. The person, whoever designed the tuning of those, really seemed to have a specific taste in mind that they were going for. I couldn't help but be reminded of the Trip-Owen Mele, of all things. The Mele has a completely different presentation of the bass, but it's likewise trying to go for generally a more laid back, warmer palette of sound. They're not the same at all. Like if you hear a bass guitar, the bass guitar is going to sound more textured and more interesting on the Mele, in my personal opinion, on the tracks that I listen to for my tastes. You know, this is all only personal and subjective, right? But I heard more texture and interesting, engaging fun in the bass on the Mele. The OH2, though, instead of having detail in that area, or much where else, it goes for a just very balanced, laid-back sound. Instead of the exciting bass, exciting male vocal-centered sound of the Mele's, the OH2 goes for a just overall tuning response of relax. Now, if you move up from the bass, which I kind of personally prefer the Mele's version, if you move up from there into the instruments in the midsection, it's again a similar story, which again comes back to that graph, which shows that the bass and the mids kind of go together. There's no real cutoff that separates the two areas. The driver has to do a lot of work there to do both. And so you end up with this very, I wouldn't say congested, but the whole midsection does feel like it doesn't have as much room to breathe as maybe it should on some of my favorite tracks. But it's a trade-off. It gives you a relaxed version, an alternative universe version of your music, where the person who designed these said, hey, relaxed is okay, but I can't hear the details. It's okay. It's a laid-back version. You can hear it. It's just kind of smooth on the edges. And you're like, yeah, it is kind of smooth. It's kind of nice. It's like a very poor man's version of the Xduoo SA6 in a way. Probably not in any very specific way. It's probably so different on a lot of different instruments. If you actually had to try to quote specific instruments playback and try to compare them, I bet they're going to sound different. My point is that it's like the entry version of something that's trying to be smooth. It may do it differently. It may not be as capable of doing it, but it is trying to be smooth. Whereas the Mele is trying to be more engaging in the bass, a little bit more textured, a little more prominent male vocals, more of this kind of live playback. The Mele is still the top pick for this kind of musical live playback performance kind of experience that you might want to go for. A lot of people love the Mele for just those reasons. And the OH2 is it is a laid back thing like the Mele, but it's even more laid back, and it makes sacrifices in that engagement to give you something that is instead just endlessly listenable and smooth. Personally, I wouldn't go for it that much myself, because if I really wanted something smooth, I would just pay more money and get the Xduoo SA6, even though that's like $500-600, whatever it is, because the SA6 is just so wonderfully smooth and technically proficient while doing it. It is not muddied at all. The OH2 has a little bit of mud to it. It's not the clearest at all times. But it does it well. As well as anything that takes that kind of risk with its tuning could, it does the best it could, especially under $100. Last thing I would say is the treble. The treble is not sibilant at all on either one. We've talked about the mids, we talked about the bass. I would just finish by saying the treble is just fine. It's not shining at all. You're not going to feel like you really appreciate female vocalists or intense electronic with great fidelity onto it. It's just going to take all your favorite music, even electronic, and put it into like a smooth, laid-back mode. It's really hard to explain, but it is what it is. Hey guys, sorry I got caught up in things. I forgot to say goodbye, but here's my farewell. If you like my video, if you like my commentary, like, subscribe, leave a comment, consider supporting me on Patreon. I'm doing a giveaway every month. See ya.